the most comprehensive sampling and mapping program in the history of this belt. And we've got up to 34 geologists and technicians who are out there right now in the field, collecting a lot of samples and doing a lot of good work ahead of future drilling.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Omega Metals Managing Director and CEO Tam Pazuki. Tam, very good to speak with you. You've just wrapped up the first phase of your 2025 drill campaign at Cape Ray. What were the key objectives and early takeaways?
Yeah, Stephen, thanks for having me on. We've had a full-on exploration program for 2025. So we did actually have a winter drill program at Bunker Hill, a different project within our massive district scale portfolio. And once the winter was wrapped up, we just waited for the winter thaw, and then once the weather conditions or ground conditions were good at Cape Ray, we resumed field operations in mid-May. So Cape Ray is home to where our current mineral resources are. So we're one of the few companies in Newfoundland to actually have a mineral resource. And our objective with this first phase of drilling is through the great comprehensive analysis we've done over the last couple of years, is we've identified several gaps within the mineral resource area. Believe it or not, with the history of exploration at Cape Ray, all the drilling primarily has been done inside the pit shells. So what we did is take the opportunity through the analysis that we had done to actually do proper step-out drilling, really look for extensions to the mineral resources. So we stepped out as large as 600 meters, 800 meters away to see if we can get extensions to the mineral resource. And that was the primary objective of that first phase of drilling at Cape Ray.
You've mentioned a shift to a more data-driven and methodical exploration approach, Sam. How's that playing out on the ground, and what makes this strategy different?
Yeah, it's important work that's required. I've found that in a lot of, I'd say primarily North America, and maybe not so much in places like Australia, there is this urgency to get to drilling. And drilling is an important part of any exploration program. And we certainly have an extensive amount of drilling that we've completed this year that we still have to go as we move forward. But the data is important to act as a vector on where you want to drill. So when you drill, which is the most expensive part of an exploration program, you want to ensure you get maximum return on that investment. So to be able to do that, you do need to be a little bit more patient and collect a lot more data to vector in and hone in on the specific areas that you want to drill. So we've had some changes in personnel. We've brought in a president. His name is Michael Skeed, and he's primarily a greenfields expert. He's been very successful in his career with a number of larger companies, and through his expertise and through the time that he's been with us, which has been 2.5 months, he's been really looking at the data that we currently have, and he's identified a need for us to spend a little bit more time. Let's collect the till samples, the rock samples. Let's do geological mapping ahead of additional drilling. So we will drill once we get through this work. But what we're going through right now is the most comprehensive sampling and mapping program in the history of this belt. And we've got up to 34 geologists and technicians who are out there right now in the field, collecting a lot of samples and doing a lot of good work ahead of future drilling.
I mean, taking a look at Bunker Hill and Hermitage, what are the next steps there, and how do these projects fit into the broader discovery strategy?
Yeah, so again, we've got a massive portfolio. We've got a district scale land package on the largest gold-bearing structure in Newfoundland. On the same structure is Equinox's Valentine project, which is 5 million ounces and going into production very soon. The only other resource on the belt is ours. So we are, again, doing all this great work here to collect additional information to vector in on drilling. So Bunker Hill and Hermitage are two other projects that we've got in the portfolio. So while we were drilling phase one at Cape Ray, looking for resource extensions, we were also collecting a number of samples and doing a lot of geological mapping in there. That work actually just wrapped up a few days ago, and the team has mobilized to Bunker Hill. So in the original plan, we were looking to get back into Bunker Hill in July and then start drilling. but we've deferred the drilling to late September. In the meantime, this team of 30 to 35 people are on the ground and going through again one of the most comprehensive sampling and mapping program at Bunker Hill. And they're pretty much going to cover not the entire project area, but they're going to cover a big chunk of it. And we're going to use the data that comes from that as a vector for that drilling that I just spoke about. At Hermitage, which is in a completely different domain, it's a gold and antimony project. So I know antimony has been very topical these days. Hermitage is the largest antimony anomaly in Newfoundland. It is another large project that we have in the portfolio. There's very limited exploration completed to date. Much of that work has been completed by us over the last few years. Ton of smoke. We've got high-grade silver, gold, and antimony samples on the property. But we're looking to do another sampling and mapping program through the central part of Hermitage, which is where we see a lot of that gold. The timing of that is likely towards the end of August, but we're again working through the current priorities that we have right now, primarily Bunker Hill.
You've got 9.2 million Canadian in the bank, strong institutional backing. How well positioned are you to convert this momentum into a major new gold discovery, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, that's our objective. We're looking to be the next major to find the next major deposit in Newfoundland and on the belt. And we're certainly well positioned. We have a very strong treasury. As you mentioned, we've got a very strong institutional backing. Half our register is owned by funds from around the world. So we have major resource funds and generalist funds invested in the company from countries like Canada, US, UK, Europe, and Australia, as well as Asia. And then on top of that, we have B2Gold, almost a million ounce a year producer that's been invested in us for the last couple of years, backing us to make that discovery, and they own 10%. So a very strong support that allows us to do exploration the way exploration needs to be done. That's frankly the only way, or the major way or primary way where these big discoveries can take place, by actually going through a systematic approach to discovery. So we're well positioned in that respect with strong shareholders in a good cash position to be able to do the work that we need to do and achieve our objective of being the next major gold mine in Newfoundland.
Well, Sam, I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Sam Pazuki is Managing Director and CEO of Omega Metals.